Good day and welcome back to another World of Warcraft video. In this video, I'm going to take a look at basically discussing a little bit about how many hours you should expect to play World of Warcraft a week, and also how you can maybe spice up your gameplay, especially in terms of Season 3 of The War Within. Now I want to preface this before I talk about how many hours to play by saying you should play as many hours as you want to play. And you should spend that time however you want to spend that time. This is my suggestion in terms of being a character or a player who does fairly casual play. I don't do mythic raids or things like that. I do a bit of mythic plus, I do high level delving, I usually do about a heroic level. I try to get ahead of the curve. I generally do recently, and I do a bit of professions and making some money. This is all predominantly on a very small selection of characters, 2 or 3, and generally I main one character a season, maybe leveling or gearing an alternative if so. So it is purely from the perspective of a player who's discussing what you need to do to be at a semi-competitive level. I'm not a highly competitive PvP player, not a absolutely amazing raider. Probably say I'm about above average of both. So let's talk about how many hours you should expect to play. Ultimately, to be honest with you, you can probably clear things like heroic raids, you can do things like tier 11 delves, and you can probably do your mythic plus like 1500 rating or so, all with around about 12 decently focused hours per week. I play 3 nights a week generally, so 3 nights a week, sometimes 4, but generally 3 nights a week, and in those nights I will generally play around about 4 hours. Obviously I have a child and everything, so you have to make sure that you're managing your personal life as well, but generally I will play around about 4 hours. Sometimes, depending on if I'm filming a video or so, I might really push it and work really late and do about 5 hours. But that's generally work. It's not actually, well, I say work in inverted commas, but it's not actually, like just doing WoW that I enjoy doing. So generally around about 12 hours a week can get you some pretty good results. It's not much. Like, it works out to about 2 hours per day. And when I say it's not much, I speak from the perspective of highly dedicated MMO player who's been playing WoW, Final Fantasy, Guild Wars 2 for hundreds of hours over all of the years. So please understand that that's my perspective on things. Obviously, if you've never played an MMO before, anything like that, 12 hours a week might sound pretty crazy to you. And that's also fine. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I would say that would be, for one character, probably around about, not the minimum, but the average you should probably expect to play. When things slow down, you might find yourself playing less on that character. When things are new and raw and it's a new season, or there's a change or a new event, you might find yourself playing more on that character. If you're running alts, I'd probably say, especially if you're trying to keep them competitive, you do probably then want to run about 20 hours a week if you're running 2 or 3 alts. Depends on how high you want your alts compared to your main, but alts, especially if you're playing them regularly, do benefit from the main. The shared gold, the shared earnings, the crafting between all 3 of them. So gearing up your alts is generally what I would consider a lot easier. Things like brand levels go faster, delving becomes easier, all those sort of things. Anything beyond those 20 hours per week, you're someone who's a very hardcore player. You're probably looking to do things incredibly efficiently, or maybe you're like a massive gold farmer, or anything like that. I would say that's probably the max kind of time frame in terms of things. So now, how do you spice up your gameplay? So let's say you are playing those 12 hours per week and you've been playing one main for a long period of time, and you really just feel like, hey, I really want to spice things up, I really want to change things up. Look, it's going to depend again on the player. Ultimately, at the end of the day as well, my first suggestion, if you're tired of World of Warcraft or you're feeling a little bit burnt out, try something else. Go play a single player RPG or a platformer or an indie game. Maybe you don't want to take a big break from WoW, but playing something else for a little bit, Like I play a lot of roguelikes and that, you know, even for 30-40 minutes or a couple days or whatever floats your boat, it helps because then you don't feel this pressure of playing World of Warcraft. But if you want to play World of Warcraft, like you're like, no, I really enjoy the game, but I'm just going to do something a bit different, then I have 5 major suggestions. So the first one is obviously change your character. Pick up a new character, whether it's race, class. If you like warriors, try a different race. If you want to unlock heritage armor for allied races, or just try something spicing things up. You know, it's always so cool in World of Warcraft, as with any MMOs, to be able to experience something different. And although there's not like a huge story changes, there is definitely big changes between classes. And changing class is definitely the biggest change you'll feel. If you've been playing tank for many years, feeling burnt out, switch to mage. Next, obviously since changing character is a big thing, there is also, of course, changing your gameplay style. Maybe you're someone who does a ton of dungeons. Well, time to dust off some raiding. Maybe you've been doing PvE for years. Well, PvP is just around the corner. It's something to really sink your teeth into if you want to get good. It's a great way to kind of change things up and really, you know, look into something new. Maybe you've never had a lot of gold. It's time to make billions of gold. Or maybe it's mount farming, you know, doing things like farming mounts, farming pets, filling out that transmog collection are always great ways. So gameplay change, you know, that core gameplay change is always super crucial. The next is obviously social circles. So it can be difficult, especially if you're like me, you're a largely solo player, but picking up a new social circle or guild or players who are going to interact with you, give you more life in the game, is always something that helps a ton. I always find, especially when I haven't been in a guild or I don't have friends playing for a while, even though I may still enjoy playing World of Warcraft, I do still feel that need for social interaction. And that can definitely change your perspective of World of Warcraft. Everyone knows playing WoW with friends is amazing, so if you can pick up a couple friends or an active guild, that does tend to help. The next one, obviously, is changing character, changing playstyle, picking up some friends, which is hard, but always, you know, can be done. Is considering other alternative WoW types. Maybe you are a little bit tired of retail. Well, you can always look at potentially picking up some World of Warcraft Classic. Maybe you want to try some Season of Discovery. Maybe you want to try some Hardcore WoW Classic. Maybe you want to try some Mists of Pandaria Classic. You know, these are always great ways to look at experiencing World of Warcraft in a slightly different lens. And with all the various different modes now, it's not inconceivable to say that there are plenty great options now to really try, you know, something different, to try something new. And I think that's always something you can do. And then obviously finally, like I say, you know, if you are someone who is really scraping the barrel, then I would consider trying something like either a dedicated PvP server or potentially an RP server. For me, I was really always been super into Dungeons and Dragons, and I was really kind of over the standard World of Warcraft experience. I went and joined an RP server. I was apprehensive at first because I was concerned that it was a bit weird, but honestly it was one of the best decisions ever. I don't always do RP now, like I don't prioritize RP, but I still play on the RP server, and when the moment arises, if I feel the need to engage in some RP or spice things up or do something a little bit different, then I can do so. And that's always a really great way to kind of change things up. Playing the exact same WoW you've ever played, but doing something very new and different. Same with dedicated PvP, it's just really cool in that sense. So that's that. That is a little bit about how much WoW you should play, how you can spice up your gameplay. Obviously, like I said in the beginning, how much you play is entirely up to you, and play as much as you want, however you want. I'm not the person who's telling you, like, this is what you absolutely have to do. This is just my thoughts and opinions on what the right kind of balance is for what you may be looking for. And at the end of the day, If you really want to play 100 hours and you want to do that pet battling, then although I may question your sanity, I'm very happy for you to do so. Spend your game how you want to and have fun the way you want to. And even if people judge you, don't worry about it, because at the end of the day, you've had fun. Good day and welcome back to another World of Warcraft